Prime.
Hello, good evening and welcome to Joy News Prime, a special 2016 budget edition. My name is Francisca Kakra-Forson. Coming up, Finance Minister Setekwe presents the 2016 election year budget, highlighting initiatives to add over 1,000 megawatts of electricity to the country's installed generation capacity to comprehensively address the energy crisis and eventually make Ghana a net exporter of power. Also, relaunch of the National Identification System. And make more efficient use of dormant funds. Well, the minority has described the budget as a dead goat budget, and the vice presidential candidate of the opposition New Patriotic Party says they will, in coming days, release an alternative one that will expose the incompetence of the ruling NDC.
And in business, Finance Minister confirms review of tax exemptions from 2016.
Also in the bulletin, the Canada-based daughters of a woman who was pronounced a witch in Adenza here in Accra have launched a fund to pay off her bills at the Pantam Mental Hospital. The bulletin is also available across Europe on the ABN television, on the Sky platforms, as well as Freeview Connect. Stay tuned. Thanks for staying. This is Joy News Prime. Now, government will restart the process for the introduction of a national identification system for Ghana from next year. Finance Minister Setekwe announced this when he presented government's economic policy statement to Parliament in Accra on Friday. The need for a national ID system has featured prominently in the debate and controversy over the integrity of Ghana's voters' register. In view of this, Mr. Tekwe says government intends to provide funding for the National Identification Authority next year.
Similarly, the government is to relaunch the National Identification Initiative because even as the debate on the electoral register is ongoing, the need for a national identification number has become quite evident.
Mr. Tekwe also stressed government's determination to address the energy crisis that has crippled the Ghanaian economy for the best part of 3 years.
Mr. Speaker, in the energy sector, we are bringing on stream 845 megawatts of power to add to the generation capacity by the close of the year. And we are providing the necessary investments and guarantees to permanently address our power generation shortfall and return the country to a net exporter of power position. Mr. Speaker, these investments have not only provided critical social services to improve the lives of our people, they have resulted in the creation of tens of thousands of jobs for the youth and our professional class. Mr. Speaker, at various stages of the doomsday crisis, the perception and notion was that government did not have a plan to tackle the power challenges. These major capital investments, which I just outlined, show clearly that government has not been aloof to the problem. To an extent, we appreciate the impatience shown at various times due mainly to the loss of productivity. However, it is also important to know that these are complex projects that require delicate designs to avoid flaws and major risks, such as occurred with the West Africa gas pipeline. Government will continue to pursue its objective of increasing the installed generating capacity of the country to meet the growing demand for electricity. A total of 1,053 megawatts of installed capacity is scheduled to be added to the existing capacity under these programs.
In the coming year, government intends to initiate a project to manage dormant funds that are literally lying idle in the Ghanaian financial system.
Asset schemes. Mr. Speaker, preliminary evidence indicates that a significant amount of assets lie unclaimed in the country. Mr. Speaker, these include dormant bank accounts, unclaimed dividends, interest payments, pensions, and insurance benefits. Mr. Speaker, there is currently no regulatory framework to govern the management of this large pool of assets, which represents a significant portion of private savings by individuals in the economy, and which are often forgone without a structure to consciously trace the beneficiaries or the next of kin of beneficiaries. Mr. Speaker, members will recall that in 2007, the government of the day announced an unclaimed assets initiative which was not implemented. This is a laudable objective which we intend to pursue. Mr. Speaker, in 2016, therefore, government intends to revisit the initiative with a view to implementing a dormant asset scheme by the end of the year. Mr. Speaker, the implementation of this scheme will be based on very sound principles that will respect the perpetual right of lawful owners of an asset to receive the fair market value of the asset at any point in time. Furthermore, the scheme will proactively trace beneficiary owners and will provide for the sound investment of the assets, and where possible, pass on these dormant accounts to next of kin, because in most cases they get completely lost. Mr. Speaker, it will begin with an interim proposal to be approved by Parliament, but we envisage, Mr. Speaker, that we will ultimately come to the House to give this legislative back. Mr. Speaker, similarly, government or the people of Ghana own significant assets, including assets which are some owned by our foreign diplomatic institutions. Mr. Speaker, in many cases, Ghana has the equity right in these assets, including local assets. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, in conjunction with the proposal to establish a fiscal trust, we propose, and again we'll go to Cabinet and Parliament with a scheme that will vest these assets in what many countries call a sovereign wealth fund or a fiscal trust to manage them effectively, and sometimes realize the appreciable capital earnings that are forgone to the country. Mr. Speaker, some of these assets indeed can be refinanced to rehabilitate our foreign embassies.
The minister said government will replace the book and research allowance with the Tertiary Education Research Fund.
In order to encourage and support research in tertiary institutions, government is reviewing the system of payment of book and research allowances to replace it with the Tertiary Education Research Fund. To this end, a draft bill for the establishment of the Tertiary Education Research Fund is before Cabinet and will be laid before this House soon.
In conclusion, Minister Setekwe said government intends for its economic policies in the coming year to deepen the gains it has made so far, giving greater meaning to its transformational agenda.
The 2016 budget is about following through the transformational agenda of the government with strategic action. Having assessed the global and domestic challenges facing our economy, we have explored the opportunities and taken bold steps at bracing the storm. In 2016, we will be seeking another mandate as a government as Mr. Speaker, as fate will have it, I have had the singular honor of presenting budgets to this House on every occasion that the Blast House is playing. Mr. Speaker, therefore, on behalf of His Excellency the President and on behalf of this august House, permit me, Mr. Speaker, to wish our gallant Black Stars victory. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Interesting happenings there. Now, joining us via Skype is Director of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, or ISE, Professor Felix Asante. Thank you very much for joining us, Prof. We know that ISE had warned government prior to the budget reading that government should be cautious of its expenditure. Generally, tell us your impressions. Looks like we're having some difficulty with the link, but we'll try and reconnect and get him back on Skype and see if we can have that interview. Well, we're staying with the topic of the budget, but the presidential running mate of the NPP, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, says an alternative budget by the party in coming days will expose the incompetence of the governing NDC. According to him, the measures announced by the finance minister in the 2016 budget are insufficient for addressing the challenges confronting the Ghanaian economy. Speaking to the media after the budget presentation, Dr. Bawumia insists the amount of money borrowed by government does not correspond with the developments.
We were happy that we found oil, but the borrowing of this government, the reckless borrowing of this government has compromised the whole oil discovery. 6 times, you need 6 times of our oil revenue just to pay interest, not even capital. It's interest on the debt. So it is a really sad development. I mean, what fundamental issues that affect this economy have been addressed in this budget? You should ask yourself, what fundamental issues? If we had spent, the money is borrowed, and that money borrowed is the equivalent of some $37 billion over 7 years. Now, can you imagine what $37 billion can do in an economy? $37 billion. I mean, it's amazing transformation that you can see.
The investment the government is talking about. They are going to add about 800 megawatts of power.
But we are talking about a record. You can always talk. We are going to do this. We are going. The question is, what have you done? Well, you've had 7 years in government. What have you done? I mean, your record should speak for itself. You shouldn't be waiting for the 8th year. The IMF, they can point to even a lot. Oh yes.
They will point to the Ridge Hospital. They will point to.
When the Kufuor administration was there, with such meager resources, so much can be pointed to as well. Infrastructure, as John Mahama says, if you point to infrastructure, you are engaging in an exercise of mediocrity. But the IMF managing director put the nail on the head when they said that the borrowing done by this government has been used for consumption. It's not me saying it. It's been used for consumption and not for investment. This is the IMF's assessment. And if you look at the data that supports what she's saying, the infrastructure to GDP ratio has come down from 9.1% when the President Kufuor was in office to 4.8% today. Infrastructure. You've borrowed so much, but you are reducing your investment in infrastructure. So they can try to hoodwink us with pictures of development all over the place. But the reality is that they should have been doing twice as much. They've had 10 times as much resources as the MPP government had, 10 times as much in nominal terms.
So what
of
is the
resource.
MPP alternative? I mean,
the MPP alternative is going to be it's a very major alternative that is going to be unveiled on Thursday when we address
but you can speak to that.
I don't want to. Of course I can, but I want to leave that to breathe. But we are going to build a new economy, a different economy, and you will be hearing a little bit more, because you cannot just criticize without providing alternatives, and we are going to, and we have anyway.
On your feet, you can tell us something as to what exactly.
I'm telling you, it's an exciting. I will tell you what it is not. It is not a doomsday economy. It is not a dead goat economy. It is not a friends and family economy, right? It is an economy that will create jobs.
Well, fortunately, we have been able to reconnect with Director of ESE, Professor Felix Asante. Thank you very much, Prof, for joining us. We know that before the budget was read, ESE cautioned government about its recurrent expenditure. In view of that, let's find out your initial reaction generally to the budget reading today.
Thank you very much, and to your reviewers. Thank you for having me this evening. Well, it's one, I see it as one of policy statements that has to be given by government every year, and I don't see anything so unique about the budget, at least as it's given. Maybe I'm yet to read the final detailed report, but what I see being done in 2006 is just continuing with projects that have been started in 2015. Yeah.
Now, some have described, the minority describe it as a dead goat budget. Some say that it's a budget of more promises and more projects, ongoing projects. From your viewpoint, how would you describe it?
I mean, just like I said earlier in my introductory remarks, I saw most of the initiatives in 2016 as more of projects that are going on, and hopefully it will be continued. I saw very few initiatives in terms of starting new projects or starting new ideas, and that is where I have a little problem, because we should be thinking more into the future than just only addressing issues in 2016.
Prof, now 2016 is an election year. Are you assured, after listening to what the finance minister said, are you assured that the demands of an election year will not pressurize the government to overspend? Hello, Prof.
I mean, certainly when you look at data of the government of the day to take that pressure, and that is what.
Looks like we are not getting a clear connection with Professor Asante. Okay, we'll take a break and try and fix our internet problems. But you're watching Joy News Prime with me, Francisca Kakra Force, on the 2016 budget edition. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more stories. Don't go away. Welcome to the 2016 budget edition of Joy News Prime. Now, the minority in Parliament has slammed governments over what it described as gross mismanagement of the economy in the last 7 years. Ranking member on the Finance Committee of Parliament, Dr. Akoto Osei, said the 2016 budget presented by the Finance Minister is full of empty promises that will not be fulfilled.
The 2016 budget for us is called the dead goat budget. The 2016 budget is the 9th budget of the NDC government since its assumption of office in 2009. Ghanaians were promised a better agenda in 2008. But going into the 8th year of government in 2016, this government has delivered one of the worst economic performances of any government in Ghana's history. The record after the last 7 budgets of the NDC is definitely not one of a better Ghana than the one this government, as you all know, inherited in 2009. Rather, it is a record of monumental waste of an historic opportunity to transform the economy of Ghana and improve the lives of Ghanaians. In fact, no government in the history of Ghana has had the amount of resources in terms of tax revenue, cocoa exports, gold exports, oil revenues, and loans, and I repeat loans, as this NDC government. The financial resources that have been available to this government are actually mind-boggling. The 2016 budget, the dead growth budget, is no different from the other 7 budgets of this government. Full of rosy promises, but it ends up breaking those promises and imposes hardships on Ghanaians. In this regard, the 2016 budget is no different from the 2012 election year budget. The government, we predict, will certainly not abide by the targets set by the IMF program in this budget. Those targets will be reached for sure, as the government will inevitably succumb to election pressures. It is not a credible budget. We should rather focus on the NDC record of failure to get a sense of what will happen in 2016. Unfortunately, it is a 7-year record of failure. What they've done, ladies and gentlemen, is the following. They've given us a Dumsor economy, a Wyoming economy, a Jida economy, a Sada economy, a judgment debt economy, a Wahala economy, an economy where if you want to get paid, you have to go on strikes, propaganda economy, a hippie economy, an economy where cocoa spraying depends on which party affiliation.
Thankfully, we have been able to reconnect with ISA Director Professor Felix Asante to try and do some more analysis on the 2016 budget read by Finance Minister. Thank you again, Prof, for joining us. Prof, quickly, we were trying to hear you tell us your description of the budgets, which the minority call a dead goat, empty promises, and so on. How does ISA see it?
I mean, this is not a different budget read. I mean, when you take all budget statements of this country, it follows a similar trend. Just focus on the year what happened in the current year, then based on that, give an outlook. Okay, so that's been the trend for some years now. Not only this current government, but it's been a trend for some years, yes.
And what would you have expected?
I was expecting, I mean, with the type of crisis we've been in this year, trying to come up with some strategic plans into the future, especially when we decided to go in for a 40-year development plan. It's true it's not in, but like issues of power, I wanted to see a little more plans other than what is going to happen in 2016. Okay, and those are some of my the things I didn't see in the budget stated. It all focused on only 2016, what is being done now and being rolled into 2016, which I thought is more of a short-term look at the economy.
Now, Prof, quickly, some of the highlights the Finance Minister mentioned, the relaunch of the national ID system, and they also talked about utilization of dormant funds, as well as the book and research allowance being replaced by a fund. And you are in the academia.
Yes. I mean, maybe let me touch. I mean, so some of these things, I don't know whether it should be coming into budget statements to be discussed, but I think some of these things are things that needs to drive the economy, and we don't need to have a new fiscal year to talk about it. We just move ahead and put it. But on the book allowance and book fund, I mean, it's a good idea. It depends on how we manage it. I mean, the current book allowance being given to college lecturers, it's not anything that you can do research with. $1,000, $1,500. So if it's that amount that is going to be put together, then people keep on asking questions. How many people if you have a $50,000 project, so how many people in Ghana can access this fund? Okay. So it's the modalities that it's more of the concerns and than just creating the fund. The creating the fund is very good, but how many people can access it? What is the seed money that is going into it? Because the current amount that we are given cannot do research. So even if you accumulate it, then it will be like giving it to about 10 people to do serious research. And that is why, in my view, more questions need to be asked and answers given. But it's a good idea. How to assess it and the funds that will be going in is what I think we need to be discussing. Everybody who wants to do research, serious research, and I underline serious research, will get the money to do it.
Okay, Prof, quickly, let's talk about the overspending. Quickly touch on that and then we'll end it here. Hello, Prof.
Yes, I mean the issue of, I mean, for we at least, we've always, yes, I'm online. Yes, we've always been raising the concern, government keeping within its spending within its revenue. I didn't see much in the budget statement about broadening the tax net, and so we are going to have spending problems. That is what I foresee, because we are not able to raise that enough revenue. Okay, I mean the whole thing is raising that enough revenue to meet our expenditures. Okay, and
so are you calling for more taxes?
No.
Well, looks like
it's fine, but we need a proper pragmatic approach in raising the tax basket in the economy.
Okay.
I mean, only few people are taxed. I mean, we've talked about making sure that the informal sector comes on board, and it's been an issue we've talked about. I know.
Well, we'll have to end it here. The internet has not been kind to us, but that's ACER Director Professor Felix Asante sharing his thoughts and some analysis on the 2016 budget. You're watching Joy News Prime with me, Francisca Kakrafo. So we'll take a break for business, and there'll be lots more about the budget. Please stay. Time now for business, joined by Abigail Adomako Entry, looking all reddish, looking good.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm good.
Lots more of, I'm good, and lots more of Setekwe. Can't get enough of him.
Today it's all about him and, you know, the budget 2016. It's been quite expectant, and well, he has confirmed some things, especially the tax exemptions that businesses were, you know, hoping that at least he would hold on to. Looks like, well, it's not happening for businesses. These tax exemptions have been reviewed, and looks like they're going to be paying some taxes.
But they'll survive. They'll survive.
I hope so. Well, let me get viewers the details now. And Finance Minister Setewe has confirmed government will review tax exemptions beginning 2016 as part of measures to boost revenue generation. Government's plans to scrap tax exemptions granted some businesses generated concerns would only affect private investment in the country. But presenting the 2016 budget today in Parliament, Mr. Tepe said the review would be done cautiously to avert any such negative impact.
Mr. Speaker, on the review of tax exemptions, Mr. Speaker, government is continuously reviewing the tax exemption regime in the country to create the appropriate fiscal space for development. We will do this without jeopardizing the need for investment incentives in the country. However, Mr. Speaker, various studies have been conducted to estimate the quantum of Ghana's tax expenditure over 8 years, 2008 to 2015. A report by Ministry of Finance and a GRA revenue estimation team with support from development partners show that average tax expenditure to GDP ratio is now above 2%. The tax expenditure to GDP ratio for 2013 to 15 are 1.68% and 1.82%, as well as 1.98% respectively.
Well, the Finance Minister Setekwe again has dismissed suggestions by the minority in Parliament that the 2016 budget does not provide the needed solutions to the country's current economic woes. He maintains the budget holds the key to the country's economic stability.
The partial risk guarantee from the World Bank for the Sankofa investments. The brighter medium-term future, it depends on whether you believe or not that that the First Lady has gone to commission an FPSO that will be coming to our shores, and that is been named FPSO Professor Mills. Believing it or not depends on whether you believe that the Ghana.Video are mobilizing funds to construct an FPSO, which we are told has actually been awarded on contract. So I think we should look at the evidence that we are presenting. Ghana is, I would say, the only sub-Saharan African country that is going to see up to $7-8 billion of investment in the next 3 to 4 years. And it has started. It believes on whether you believe that the Jubilee gas has come on stream. In essence, what I'm saying is that we used to talk about these things as concepts. Now we are talking them as real, for which we have done things, for which we have brought on board, 1, the Jubilee gas, 2, the 10 field after the decision by ITLOS, the gas, the FPSO has been commissioned. 3, we are seeing investments which are going to come by the partial risk guarantee which the World Bank gave. At the same time, they gave the guarantee for the bond, for which we went to the markets. And it's also it depends on your belief in whether, as we stated, the discussions have started for the full field development, by Cosmos. So I think if you examine the evidence, you will see that what we are saying is concrete. It is not speculation.
Latest figures from the Statistical Service indicates that the economy will grow at 4.1% by close of year compared to the initial projection of 3.5%. Now, the Finance Minister Setekwe believes this is a sign that the economy is not doing that bad despite setbacks with commodity prices. Let's now go on to the phone line and do some analysis with economist Dr. Godfred Bokpin. Good evening, Doc.
Yes, good evening.
Many thanks for your time. Now, what's your verdict on the budget? Some have already questioned it as not offering solutions to the current economic challenges.
Well, it's not a budget that necessarily will transform that. The reason is because we are not out of the woods yet. The challenges facing the economy still persist. If you look at the global environment, we don't have control over the prices of our primary commodities, because over the years we have talked about adding value to our products, our exports, but we haven't been successful. That is an issue. So in terms of how much export revenue we can get, it's not that much. If you also look within, in terms of internally generated taxes and the rest of them, there are challenges in terms of the energy crisis and other things that are affecting the profits of businesses. For that reason, how much government can also raise. But I think beyond that, as a country, our problem hasn't been because of lack of resources. it's been more of lack of prudence with the application of our limited resources.
Right.
So that is what I'll say for now. But I think that we have to put the 2016 budget within the context of our history. And the reason I'm saying so, and I've said it before, is that election year budgets, they don't deliver on the core promises that are contained in the election year budget. If you go to 2000, if you go to 2008, if you go to 2012, you'll find that targets in the budget were missed, and the variance were quite large. So there are things that government promised us in election year that they end up not being able to deliver. And it runs through a number of them. You can look at the fiscal deficit in the budget, which is quite appropriate. I mean, 5.3%. If we can keep to that, then it means that we get to preserve the fundamentals of the economy, even in election year, which in the time past has been a major problem. Now, the question is, can we keep to that?
Right.
Perhaps with the IMF on board. But it is also possible that if towards the end of next year, I mean, the government realized that, look, it is not macroeconomic stability that will bring the much needed vote, then it means that the program is at risk. Then it means that the budget target will not be respected. So the kind of discipline that we require actually to keep to the tenets of the budget, I think is an issue that we have to look at. And in order to do that successfully, we must go beyond the horizontal accountability that we have all relied on in terms of the role of Parliament in holding the executive to accountability. We must be looking or talking about horizontal, diagonal accountability today, beyond horizontal accountability, where civil society, the media, you and I will all police the budget and ensure that whatever that is contained in the budget, we work towards that. If they are promising new projects, new roads, here and there that are not in the budget, we should be raising issues. How are these projects funded? Where is the money coming from? How are we keeping to the fiscal deficit? How are we implementing the public sector financial reforms? How are we engineering the necessary productivity enhancing reforms?
Right,
How
Doc, you
are we
haven't
complementing that with infrastructure investment and then private sector leadership?
Right, Doc.
These are issues.
Doc, if you can hear me, you haven't spoken about the growth targets, talking about the macroeconomic indicators, the targets that government has set for 2016. Are they realistic enough?
In terms of the growth, that won't be too much of out of proportion. But my question is that, I mean, a growth of 4.1% is lower than one would have expected. Other countries comparably in Africa are growing at 7%. Others are doing more than that. So we are doing just 4.1%. So, and given the rate at which we are adding to our public debt, we are so exposed. Because if the rate at which we are adding to the debt to GDP ratio coming from the primary deficit and the debt servicing is not fully offset by real economic growth, then it means that we cannot achieve our debt sustainability objectives. It's as simple as that. So, but it's a projection. Please don't forget that in 2008, we targeted a certain GDP growth rate. We couldn't achieve that. By the end of the year, we missed that. So this is a projection. You understand? It doesn't mean that we can achieve that because the constraints or the restrictions on the growth drivers of the economy, they still persist. And the critical question we need to even ask ourselves is that where are the growth drivers in these GDP growth projections? Is the growth coming from labor-intensive sectors of the economy? If it's coming from hydrocarbon production, gas, oil, these areas are not labor-intensive, and Ghanaians necessarily do not own these sectors. We are looking at growth being propelled from areas where majority of Ghanaians draw their livelihood from. Then we can get the redistribution of income. Then we can say that growth is broad. Growth is all-inclusive. Growth is benefiting low and moderate income earners. But that is not the case in this country.
All right, thank you very much, Doc, for that insight. And we'll still stay on the budget. Secretary has reaffirmed government's commitment to spend within budgets despite the excessive expenditure recorded during the election year. He explains the urgency in solving the country's energy crisis is topmost on government's agenda.
The disruption in gas supply and low levels of water in the Bui, Akosomo, and Pond dams due to climate change continue to pose significant power supply challenges, and a reduction in the capacity, a reduction in generation capacity, as well as recurring power outages. However, it is now clear that investments being made in the sector are rapidly changing the situation. The recommended overall budget deficit target of 5.3% of GDP under the IMF program provides a tighter fiscal space than anticipated in the original program, which had a 5.8%. It is against this background that we must even be more prudent in 2016 and avoid consequential cycle of huge election year budget overruns and deficits.
And that'll be all for business. My name is Abigail Adomako, and do log on to myjohnonline.com/business for more news. Francisca Kakra-Forson returns with more.
Hello again, you're still watching Joy News Prime. Now, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources is downplaying the effects of the dwindling fortunes of mining firm Great Consolidated Diamond Ghana, managed by the Jospon Group of Companies. After acquiring the mine at Equatia in 2011, Jospon has been struggling to restart operations there. Moreover, there are suggestions that Jospon has failed to pay in full for the company. Lands and Natural Resources Minister Ni Osamils tells Joy News he's not surprised by the turn of events.
Oh, not yet.
I find it curious that, I mean, for this last 4 years, you know, it's not really come to your attention that their operations, you know, is virtually grinding to a halt, you know.
What happens is that we have what we call the Minerals Commission, and we have also what we call the Inspectorate Division of the Minerals Commission. According to law, when a lease is granted for a mining operation, then returns, in other words, reports as to the operations of a company during the period granted for mining, yearly, quarterly, etc., the reports are required to be submitted to the Minerals Commission and not to us as a ministry.
But certainly your ministry has oversight over the Minerals Commission.
This ministry has oversight over the Minerals Commission, but we don't have there's a law. Minerals Commission has been established. They have a job, a mandate. Perhaps I may have to educate you a little bit. Their job, their mandate, okay, is what I'm telling you. They will receive applications, they will review the applications, they will review the plan for mining, they will review who the directors are going to be, whether they are qualified, what equipment is going to be used, and whether the mining operation fits into the normal pattern.
Emphasizing on this oversight responsibility, because I mean it's gotten bad to the extent that this company now they are selling their equipment as scrap just to defray their debt. That's how bad it's gotten.
Come in, let me answer you. People go into business, sometimes the business doesn't work out. If a person's business or a company's business doesn't work out, it's not strange, it's normal. Don't you realize it?
It's normal for them to fail.
Let me finish. Businesses collapse. Everyone around the world, even America, the developed countries, the poorer countries, businesses fail. Wait, and when businesses fail, sometimes they collapse and they go away. All commodities prices in the world have dipped heavily. For example, gold went as high as 1,900, then it dipped. Now it's about 1,130 per ounce and so on. So it made operations difficult for most mines all over the world. So if a mine collapses, it's normal.
Then why did government diversify it in the first place? Because you see, in 2011, when the then Vice President Mahama inaugurated this new company, he emphatically said that the company was diversified because it was not it wasn't really efficient, and they were not able to pay their workers.
A company may take over another company and will not do well. All that it means is that in this instance, if, for example, we will read the agreement, the contractual basis for the divestiture, and see whether the company, you suggested they hadn't paid for the consideration for the divestiture in the first place. So there are many ways to come in. One of the ways, of course, is that if they are to pay for the divested company, they haven't paid for it, and of course, Ghana government has an interest in moving in.
The family of the recently murdered female student of the University for Professional Studies has refuted claims that her education was sponsored by her boyfriend, who is the key suspect in the case. There are claims that Jennifer Atieku's education had been paid for by her boyfriend, Paul, from the senior high school level to the university. But her brother, Alfred Atieku, has told Joy News the family paid for Jennifer's schooling. Kofi Mensah has been interacting with the family and friends of the murdered girl and joins us in the studio. Kofi, first tell us what the family have been sharing with you.
Well, first, the family met today to discuss, the issue so far, and the brother tells me they officially informed other family members, because since the issue broke out, they couldn't inform anybody because they were so sad. And the family, their hometown is celebrating their festival, so they couldn't have broken the news to anybody, so they have to find time and break the news to the family members. So today they did that. They had the meeting in the morning to inform all family members about this very sad incident.
Tell us sorry, how they've been coping with this tragedy, unexpected.
Well, when it happened yesterday and I went to the hospital, that's the Pentecost hospital at Medina, the brother was lying on the body crying, the dad also crying. And you could see that even men were, I was surprised too, because the brother is a gym instructor at the University of Ghana, Legon gym site. So I was so, shocked to see the brother crying, lying on the sister's body. But the family is distraught with this very sad news.
And you were able to interact with some of her friends on campus as well. How are they also taking it?
Well, today the entire class was in black. Everybody in the class was in black.
In memory of her.
Yeah, exactly. And we're mourning. So I struggled to even get them to speak off record, because they told they wouldn't speak to us, especially more so because some information has been put out there were wrong, so they were not prepared to speak to him, but I had to find ways of getting them to speak. And they were saying they were very sad because they shared some fond memories of Jennifer Atieku.
Tell us some of those memories.
Yes, one of them said anytime she was hungry, Jennifer would encourage her to eat. When she dresses nicely, Jennifer would tell her, "Oh, you're looking so beautiful. Just take a picture with me." So Jennifer was outgoing, and everybody, she didn't have only one friend or two friends, almost the entire class. So before I could even speak, there were about 10 people around me. So I asked a question, anybody wants to answer the question about Jennifer, and you could see that's how close she was with everybody within her class.
So that we're talking about the late Jennifer Atieku,
Exactly.
and may her soul rest in peace, and condolences to her family. But Kofi, thank you very much. You're watching Joy News Prime with me, Francisca. I'll take a break and bring you international. Let's now take a recap of the top stories. And Finance Minister Seth Terkper presents the 2016 election year budget, highlighting initiatives to add over 1,000 megawatts of electricity to the country's installed generation capacity to comprehensively address the energy crisis and eventually make Ghana a net exporter of power. Also to relaunch the National Identification Numbering System. And make more efficient use of dormant funds. And the minority has described the budget as a dead goat budget, and the vice presidential candidate of the NPP says they will, in coming days, release an alternative one that will expose the incompetence of the government. Okay, this is Joy News Prime with me, Francisca Kakra-Forson. A major newspaper in Canada is reporting that the Pantang Hospital in Accra is refusing to release a patient whose children want to take her to North America for treatment. The patient, diagnosed as schizophrenic, is a Canadian of Ghanaian descent. Her 4 daughters in Canada who haven't set eyes on her for several years were shocked to see pictures of her on social media after a mob in Accra nearly lynched her on the accusation that she was a witch. Ifo Akwa Harrison has been following the story and joins me in the studio with more. So, Ifo, what happens after this woman is rescued from, the frenzied mob in Accra? Take us back.
Well, a few months ago, I don't know if you remember, there were a couple of pictures, a naked woman actually, and they showed one of the pictures where she was squatting and it looked like she had some sort of a boil in her around her genitals. I learned it's a uterine prolapse, okay, and that happens, something that happens to women. But her pictures were shared all over social media, but thankfully the police rescued her from this mob, and then subsequently she was admitted to the Pantang Hospital. Okay, so how did we get to contact the daughters? Well, we haven't contacted the daughters. We actually found the story on the Star, Toronto Star online. So Toronto Star is one of the major newspapers in Toronto, and this is actually someone who has interviewed the daughters, and the daughters say they actually haven't had contact with their mom since 2009, when it's believed that she came to Ghana. And the mother, this woman whose pictures were spread all over social media, she's a 53-year-old woman. Her name is Barima Osei Asare, and we've already told viewers that she's a Canadian citizen. She's suffering from schizophrenia and severe depression, and she moved to Canada in the 1980s, and before she was diagnosed actually with mental illness in 1992, and the sisters don't really have a relationship with her because of her illness. They've been taken care of by someone else, but it's still their mom, and they saw the photos on social media. That would be heartbreaking. Yeah, that is heartbreaking, and that is how they got to know that, hey, this is where their mom is. Now let's just talk about how society perceives people who are different or people who act unusually, and then we just tag them as witches. Yeah. Yeah, because I don't know why that is. I guess it's because of the sort of society where we live in, and it's something that people believe in. We are a very faith-based society, and we believe in those kinds of things. I mean, as you know, a lot of superstition. A lot of superstition. Now, the Pantang Hospital is refusing to let her go. The Pantang Hospital is refusing to let her go because she owes some money. According to the article, she owes, the bill for this woman is $1,850 US, and not until they pay that money or set up a payment plan, they are not going to release Madame Boache. Her daughters are trying to raise that money. Her daughters are trying to raise that money through crowdfunding. So if you go to GoFundMe.com, the title of the crowdfund is Barima Boache to Return Home, and they are trying to raise quite a bit of money. Of course, over $1,800 to get their mom out of the Pantang Teaching Hospital, and then of course they want money also to take her to Canada so that she can receive better health care over there. So I'm already thinking about my mother, but thank you very much. You're welcome, and we'll be talking about this on Joy News Interactive. Most definitely. All right. We'll move on to other stories. And the World Health Organization has rated Ghana's Ebola preparedness at 60%. This stride comes after the discontinuation of an Ebola vaccine trial in the Volta region following a public outcry. Deputy Health Minister Victor Bampo says overall, Ghana has done well to prevent an Ebola outbreak.
When Ebola first started, the WHO did an assessment, and Ghana was at, I think, 10% readiness. Last November, they did an assessment. We were at 36% readiness. A few months ago, I think it was in June or July, they did another assessment. We were at 64% readiness.
The flag bearer of the opposition New Patriotic Party is in Asawase in the Ashanti region to mourn with the party activist who was stabbed to death in the constituency last week. At a ceremony to commemorate the first week of the death of Abubakar Siddiq, Nana Akufo-Addo described the deceased as a personal friend. Love FM's Prince Appiah joins us on the telephone. Prince, what more can you tell us? Okay, we do not have Prince Appiah on the line, but we know the MPP flag bearer is in the Ashanti region in Asawase to mourn with a party activist who died there. Prince Appiah is on the line now. Let's speak to him. Prince, so what more can you tell us about Nana Akufo-Addo's trip there?
Yeah, Francisca, today Nana Akufo-Addo, when he came to Asawase, specifically the house of the dead Abubakar Siddiq, what he said was that Abubakar Siddiq was his personal friend, and again he said that he was someone who dedicated his life for the party, and at this time that he is deceased, he expects everybody to come together and foster unity. Looking at what he's done now, he expects that nobody should shed any more blood. Going forward in 2016, he expects that the party will unite, and at a point, Nana Akufo-Addo donated some 2,500 Ghana cedis. He told the family to use that to perform the final funeral, to fund the final funeral rites, which is slated for 22nd of November this year. So these are some of the things that happened at today, and I should say that he didn't come there alone. He came with the third vice chairman of the party, FF Anto. He came there with the women's organizer, Efika Jaba, Utiko Jaba, to the place to, sympathize with the family and other friends and the party supporters who had gathered there. I should say that the place was very charged when the people saw Nana Akufo visiting the place. Another thing that came up was the father of Abubakar Siddiq. His name is also Abubakar Siddiq. He was excited with the gesture and Nana Akufo had shown to the family. He was surprised that Nana Akufo had to come all the way from Accra to join them. But for him, he believes that Nana Akufo could help facilitate efforts by the police to the perpetrators who killed his son to book immediately.
All right. Nana Akufo-Addo, MPP flag bearer in the Ashanti region, mourning with family of a dead activist. That's Love FM's Prince Appiah. Thank you very much. And this is Joy News Prime with me, Francisca Kakra-Force. And let's take a break. More coming up.
Entertainment news is brought to you.
Miss G.
Okay.
Oh, you look amazing. You're flowing all over the place.
Am I? What should I say about you? All right.
Okay, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Yourself?
I'm great. A little tired, but I'll be fine.
I'm sure
now,
you will.
Let's talk about Kofi Ajololo. He's lamenting about lack of funding.
Yes, I know you want to see a movie about Kwame Nkrumah.
Of course.
Yes, you want to see a movie about J.J. Rollins, and even the ex-president Kufuor and all that. Well, he says that they don't do legendary movies here in Ghana because of budget. Maybe the government needs to intervene.
If I want to do a movie on Kwame Nkrumah, how he got independence for us, even his home or his office that he uses or he was using, the clock on the table must be that time's clock. The TV on the office must be of that time. The pen must be of that time. The chair, the furniture must be of that time. You don't use the cars, you don't use today Mercedes 240 for those days. So all these ones are props. You need to look for those props for the film to look real. Now, how do you get these props if you don't have money to look for them? If I am to do a film on J.J. Rawlings, I need to have at least armor cars, soldiers, guns. How do I pay about 100 soldiers in a film? How do I pay for helicopter? Because we know Rawlings was piloting helicopters. How do we get the helicopters? It's all about paying for them, and it's all about money. The producers we have here around us don't have that money. That's why I keep saying that if people want us to produce such type of films for international consumption, for big screens, then government must be ready to fund this industry.
The finance minister presented the budget today, so maybe he may want to incorporate that.
Exactly for the creative art industry. But let's talk about the Little Big Souls. Now, this is an annual event put together for premature babies, actually to raise funds for them. And one of the ambassadors is Ofi Kujo. She's a musician, and she revealed to us that she was born prematurely, and that's how come she's joining this cause. Now, this time around, they are still with the Tema General Hospital, but she's still appealing for more funds for them.
I actually celebrated my 50th birthday in June. Thank you. And we actually celebrated it with a concert called This Preemie Made It, as we raised funds for Little Big Souls, which is an organization that I'm one of the ambassadors for. Yeah, we're still with Tema General Hospital, and the NICU section there is it's grown and it's beautifully set up, but they still need equipment. We still need some basic resources like formula and Pampers, specifically for premature babies. There's a huge difference between what you put on a regular baby, a regular newborn, and a preemie. A preemie is half, or if not a quarter, of the size of a regular newborn, because as you know, most newborn babies actually grow in size in their 8th month. So if they're born before that, they are typically a quarter of the size of a newborn. So the reality is that we need diapers desperately, because one of the risks that are associated with newborns, newborn preemies, is their development of their bones. So if you put a normal diaper on a regular baby, you run the risk of outlining or reshaping their hip bones and their hip structures, and so we want to make sure that we equip them properly as well.
Right, so that's the story of Ofi Kujo. I'm sure nobody will know, or seeing her, you can just guess that she was born premature, you know. And so she's 50 years. Who thought that, you know, we have this notion that people like that don't ever grow that old, you know. So,
well, they tend to have, you know, certain attributes that are, you know, positive.
I see.
Let's talk about actress Christabel.
Actress Christabel, you know, growing up, what was that myth that you were told that when you became an adult, you said, okay, they lied to me, you know?
Oh, so many actors.
Tell me just one.
That's hard. Well, when I was growing up, I thought that my parents knew everything.
Okay.
I thought that they were always right. But I grew up to have disagreements and to realize that, okay, they don't know everything. So that was a bit awkward.
I think yours was better, because Christabel was strict while she was growing up. She was told that she had, you know, etikopo, what we call etikopo, like she had so she was told to carry huge buckets of water every time.
I know that feeling.
So that, you know, she has a very nice head shape. And then she was told some other things that she shared with me when I caught up with her.
In Jamestown, so she would make me fetch so many buckets of water so that my head can like get into a better mold, a better shape. And I actually believed it, because I was desperate to have a better head shape. Sometimes they tell you not to sing while you're bathing, and maybe it's just because the ladder will get into your mouth or poison you or something.
But what did they tell you at that time?
They said you don't, when you sing while you're bathing, your mother will die. You don't have to sweep in the night, and anytime you pee on the floor, you have to spit on it. so many weird myths that, you know, they stay with us. You know, they stay with us. When you pee in public, you have to like do something to make sure you're safe. Like, it's all weird, but it's part of growing Ghanaian. I grew up locally, and I always like being in local areas. So.
Okay, so our nosy director wants to hear my story. Well, interesting thing that happened when I was growing up. I was really skinny. It was almost unhealthy.
It's like you're even plump now anyway.
This is me, Fato. So my mom would never allow me to wear clothes that didn't have sleeves, you know, because she said it made my twin sister and I made us look sickly. And so anytime we did a dress, we had to get a jacket on it, or like what you have, a shawl over it. And then I grew up, and then everybody wants to be slim, and then, huh? But yeah, that's my childhood. Now let's talk about a musician. He's speaking about his father.
Yes, you know, Ghana.Video has a baby now.
Oh, so he's a father now.
Yes, he's a father. And he's been sharing his childhood experience. One of the things he said is the fact that he gets scared when he looks at his daughter. Guess why?
Why?
Oh, guess.
I don't know.
Oh, just guess. For a wild guess.
Well, he's afraid other men will be doing what he did.
Exactly, you know, he'll be sharing more. He says he's not even ready to get married, you know, that's not... You saw how he took his step. I don't see myself getting married anytime soon. It's almost like I don't see myself getting married at all.
Yeah,
you know?
never.
you know.
No, did they kiss or not?
Well, that is for you to see, you know. You know what happened earlier this year? You know, Two-Face Idibia got married last year, and then earlier this year we had rumors and we saw pictures of he in the club with his baby mama, that's his ex-girlfriend, and they were in some compromising
cozy position.
And so Two-Face Idibia is in Ghana. Today actually happens to be his wife's birthday. Yes, Annie Idibia came with him to Ghana, and today is her birthday. Now he's in Ghana for the Little Big Soul concert. He's been responding to that rumor we had some time back. Well,
let's find out the truth.
Mischievous people just trying to twist a perfectly innocent encounter into something. You understand what I'm saying? It was
how innocent was that?
It was a perfectly innocent encounter. We were just talking, laughing, talking about different things, and some dude was like, "Hey, how far?" I thought you people were quarreling. I thought you people were beefy. I said, "No, we're not beefy. We're seen." It was just an innocent, you know, hangout, and you know.
But how difficult was it to convince Annie that no, there's nothing more?
She was even around. She later came around, you know. But they did, obviously, the mischievous people, they didn't want to put that.
Doesn't look good.
Was that innocent?
It's hard to tell because it appears he's also participating.
You know, but you know, he's also called innocent. So maybe he's saying that was me. Basically, you know, that was me. You know,
that was me, innocent, but guilty.
You know, but you know, they always refer to him as the good bad guy. You know, so maybe that's him in one of his elements. I think that maybe they had too much to drink, and so
blame it on alcohol.
Away, you know, exactly. You know, exactly.
Okay,
you know, so
lots of fun whenever you come around.
You do. So have me here forever.
I'll think about that. Well, thank you very much,
thank you,
Ms. G, for bringing us entertainment, and that's it for entertainment.
Entertainment news was.
Time now for sports, and I'm already warming up. Gary L. Smith joins us. Hello, Gary.
Hello.
Interesting things happening today. The finance minister wished the Black Stars all the best. And what did they go and do?
They didn't wish themselves the best.
Shame on them.
Yes, so that's our headline story. Plus, we look at some of the other qualifiers from around the continent and a bit of this and that making the news around the world. Thank you. So yes, good evening and welcome to the sport here on Prime. First of all, the Black Stars managed to get a draw in Comoros. They were lucky, even though Comoros are among the lowly countries in African football, the lowest of the low. But they put up a very spirited performance and even had a goal disallowed. On reflection, we saw that it was a clean and clear goal.
Had a huge mountain to climb in order for them to qualify for the FIFA 2018 World Cup as they came up against Ghana on Friday afternoon for their second round qualifier at Stade Said Mohammed Sheikh Stadium. The home side showed a lot of intent early on, with Halifa Saule striking the post in the opening 4 minutes. The Black Stars had a quiet first half and their best chance fell to right back Harrison Aful. The game was goalless at the break. In the second half, with few chances, Comoros thought they had found the breakthrough in the 82nd minute when substitute Ali Mahdi headed in the ball from close range, but he was judged to have been offside. And soon after that, Avram Grant's side found themselves on the wrong side of luck after striking the post twice in quick succession. And that's the way it finished, with Comoros holding their own against the Black Stars as the game ended goalless.
See the look on Andrea Yu's face. He's like,
he couldn't believe it.
Yes.
Now, Seth Tekpe, who wished them well, his presentation was described as a dead goat's budget. Is that a dead goat performance?
Dead sheep might cut it. I mean,
there isn't much difference.
For players who want $10,000 each, you know, this was quite lackluster. So
dead sheep performance.
Yeah.
Shame on them.
But I mean, they have the chance to redeem their image on Tuesday, because Comoros will be coming this side of town and they'll be playing in Kumasi. So hopefully they'll be able to win. Now the interesting thing is, if Comoros get a score draw out of this game, they will qualify at our expense and they'll kick us out of the World Cup qualifiers.
That
will
sound
be
nice.
An uproar. But elsewhere, there were games around the continent, plenty. I'll be showing you the scores. One of the big ones involved Cape Verde, who have qualified for several Nations Cups in the last couple of editions. They went to Nairobi and they were beaten by Kenya. And this was one of the 9 games played across the continent today. There'll be more coming up from now until Tuesday. And these are the rests. We saw Madagascar. They went shockingly 2 goals ahead against the match fancy Senegal. And Senegal were only able to draw, come back in the last 6 minutes through 2 goals from Musa Konate and Sadio Mane of Southampton. Comoros 0-0 Ghana, Kenya 1-0 Cape Verde. We've seen those. And Libya were playing away from home because of the political instability. They now play in Tunisia. They beat Rwanda by 1-0 in Sfax. And South Africa beat Angola again. It's almost normal that South Africa beat Angola by 3-1. Also, Cameroon won by 3-0. Now, the interesting thing about this is all 3 goals were scored in 3 minutes before the first half ended. Amazing stuff. Liberia were beaten by the Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast are injury ravaged, even though they are African champions. No Yaya Toure, no Wilfred Bony, and a couple of other stars, but they still managed to win. And Tunisia beat Mauritania by 2-1. That was expected. And also Swaziland drew sensationally 0-0 with Nigeria. The second leg of that one will be on the 17th in Port Harcourt. So, there'll be more games, and you can check our updates on myjoyonline.com for the rest of the games from around the continent. Meanwhile, coming back home, the Division 1 League, sponsored by GN Bank, is going to be having its first ever awards, and the club say they are grateful to the bank for keeping it indigenous and for sponsoring the league.
There were some who thought that the amounts were paltry, but we in Division 1 knew that the amount was never paltry, and it was going to help in a very large way to alleviate the suffering of most of our Division 1 club. I say to the glory of God, and also that by first GN Bank's inclusion or deciding to help, we had a situation where no team pulled out of the 30-match league by way of financial constraints. Division 1 League has been touted to be the wilderness of Ghana football. It is a league no team wants to be associated with, and people who come in want to run away quickly. It was simply because of it being sponsorless or it being a Sakura league. I believe that now, with GM Bank's inclusion, a lot of teams will stay and work to make Division 1 a better place. If they get the opportunity to go to the Premiership, fair enough. If they do not get that opportunity, I know they will not run, but they will stay to make it better.
Still in Accra, and there was a very interesting program in terms of sport at the University of Ghana today. There was a sports lecture for the first year students. It wasn't that made the news, but the caliber of people who spoke. Dr. Osei Asare, the Director of Sports of the University of Ghana, and also Magnus Rex Dankwa, the Chief Operating Officer of the 2008 African Cup of Nations that was held in Ghana. Let's see the highlights of that.
This lecture is a sensitization lecture to let students of the University of Ghana and the general public know about the enormous nature of the sports industry, so that they can make informed decisions when choosing, their subjects, particularly choosing sports as a career. These first-year students are entering an industry that is very exciting and very challenging, especially in Ghana. But then, once they get the knowledge and they apply the knowledge, and we build that confidence in them, they will be in a better position to handle Ghana sports, maybe better than it's being handled now. I am here implementing very good programs. Look at the gym we are, where we are standing. I don't think the nation has such a gym. Indeed, the Sports Council, the Sports Authority now have a gym, but I wrote a proposal to the Japanese government, and they provided all those equipment free of charge. When I was there as the chief executive, I wrote that proposal, so that I have done it there, I have done it here, I did it for the sports college.
If we had time, I would have played that video again, and you may have seen the lady at the back there lifting the muscles and stuff like that. Amazing stuff. Let's go outside the country. And in the NBA, the regular season has started, and everybody is talking about one of a couple of things. Either about LeBron James's amazing 25,000 points feat, or what he did a couple of days ago, or about Steph Curry, who is just shooting, and people are even daring to say that he's better than the legendary Michael Jordan was in shooting. But another game that came to us was between the Phoenix Suns and the LA Clippers, sorry. The Suns were able to win. Let's check out the highlights of that one. The NBA returns tonight. You can get previews of the matchups on myjoyonline.com sports page. Also, what you can get there has been the rolling news since Tuesday of the doping scandal that has hit athletics, with specific reference to Russia. Now, the country's athletes feel that their country has been singled out by the world's media and also by the authorities that be at the global level.
Russian athletes have continued to put in the hard yards at their training base in Sochi, despite the recent scandal that has centered around an alleged state-sponsored doping scandal. But some athletes have questioned the allegations and feel that their country is being singled out, despite doping being a widespread problem.
It happens not only in our country, it happens all around the world. Why are these measures taken only for Russian teams? I don't understand this. It is only us, that is. If it's proven that we are doping, other countries do it as well. Why aren't they disqualified? Everywhere there are problems. That's why there are bosses and officials to take care of them. I'm an athlete, and the only thing I have to do is train myself. Get up in the morning, train, come in the evening to the stadium and do my job.
Systematic doping at state level, did they or didn't they? Well, we'll never know, or maybe we'll know in the future. And that's it for the sport for now. Like I say, you can always get to myjoyonline.com sports page or follow us on Twitter and Facebook. I'll be back on Monday. Thanks for joining us.